Hi, Shawn here. I'm here to share my passion about coffee. I like coffee a lot of ways. I like drip coffee. I like French press coffee. I like espresso and cappuccino. Today, I'm here to make cappuccino. And of course, to make cappuccino, you have to start with a shot of espresso. Now, for those of you who are not really familiar with making your own cappuccino and espresso at home, there are a number of different kinds of machines and they range widely in price. Of course, the cheapest machines, those usually under $100, are steam operated machines. That is, they don't have a pump. They use the pressure of water heating to steam in the boiler to extract your shot from your coffee. Don't get one of those. If you can't afford to buy a machine that's got a pump, then just let someone else make your coffee for you, really, because it's going to be the wrong temperature of the water that goes through the beans, and it's just not going to come out right. So that brings us to the other kinds. There are manual espresso machines, and manual machines are probably for the experts, the most talented and most obsessive espresso aficionados. Those are machines generally operated by a piston, that is, the hand pump type you see, rather than an electric pump, as most other machines have. Those machines are often well over $1,000. We're not going to be using one of those today. The next, and probably the most common you're going to see, certainly at the entry level, is the semi-automatic machine, like the one I have here. A semi-automatic machine will heat the water to the correct temperature, both for steam and for your espresso shot. But you're going to control how long that water flows through the coffee. Whereas an automatic machine, you can hit a button for either one shot or two shots. And it's going to measure the amount of time, the amount of water for you. Most entry-level machines, as I said, are going to be a semi-automatic machine. Of course, there's also the super automatics you've seen, and those are often very expensive. They generally start at about $800 and go up from there. Sometimes they can be found for less. But those are machines that will grind the beans, tamp the grounds into the portafilter, make the shot, and even steam your milk for you. Do everything. You just select what kind of coffee you want and push a button and it makes the coffee for you. They can be a lot of fun, but really I'd rather make the coffee myself. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, this machine is about 10 years old. It's nothing fancy. It's a Kenmore Elite, and many of you know Kenmore doesn't actually make anything. They simply come up with standard specifications, and they go to manufacturers and say, make me this machine. I believe this one was made by Cuisinart. Now, Cuisinart makes a decent machine. They're not high-level prosumer machines, but they're not bad. This is a pretty decent one. The internal workings are actually pretty good. But it's 10 years old. It's about time for me to get something new, but that'll be another video altogether. The machine basically consists of a boiler and a pump. Then there's a group head and the portafilter. That's where your coffee goes. They're generally going to have a couple different kinds of baskets that can go in the portafilter. A very common kind is for what they call ESE pods, or easy, I don't remember what ESE stands for. But these were the original, long before Keurig. This was the little coffee pods that would go in here, so you don't have to grind your own coffee or whatever, but never use it. The next thing is you got either a single or a double, and these baskets are what are called double-walled baskets or pressurized baskets. You could tell because they only have like one little hole in the bottom, one little pinhole. So you have pressurized grounds and the water in here, so you don't have to be quite so particular about exactly how fine or coarse you've ground your coffee and what your how many pounds per square inch you've tamped down the coffee. It's much less important with the pressurized baskets. As you get into the more advanced machines, Many of them will come with both pressurized and non-pressurized baskets. My next machine will have a non-pressurized basket. If you do get a non-pressurized basket, a single-walled, you will definitely need to perfect your technique for how fine to grind the coffee and how much pressure to apply when you tamp. But today we're not going to worry about that. But if you're going to make really good cappuccino or espresso, you're going to want to grind the coffee fresh. Sure, you can buy a can of espresso roast, it's finely ground coffee, but as soon as you open it, as finely ground as espresso is, it's got so much surface area that the oxygen will immediately start to make the coffee stale. It'll oxidize. And you might get a good cup of coffee or two today, but by tomorrow it's going to start to be kind of stale, and within a couple of days it's going to be downright nasty. So you're going to want to grind your beans fresh. That's really the best way to make espresso at home. So a good grinder, but again, that's a video for another day. Now I'm going to take my double wall basket and I'm going to grind up 2 scoops of coffee. I'm making a double shot. Now I'm going to heat up my machine. It's got water in the reservoir. Generally they're removable reservoirs. I'm using filtered water in here. If you use straight tap water, the chlorine in there may affect your taste. Some machines will have a charcoal filter built in. This particular one doesn't, but I'm using filtered water. So I've got my grinder over here. This is the Breville Smart Grinder Pro, made in Australia. It's an excellent machine. It retails for around $200. You can often find better deals though. And I've got it set on one of the finest settings, not quite powdered like Turkish coffee. And it's got a nice little portafilter attachment here. So I can actually put this straight in here. Never done that before. Okay, I tamp it down. Doesn't have to be super hard. And I put it into the group head. Now, you may want to run some hot water through the group head to heat it up to temperature first. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to skip a step. But now my machine is ready to go, except I forgot to turn it on. Luckily, it's going to heat up pretty quickly. It's going to give me a light telling me when the temperature's up. Now, these machines heat water up to 2 separate temperatures, and temperature is critical when making coffee, especially espresso, but really any coffee. The temperature of the water will regulate the extraction of the elements of the coffee beans that you either find desirable or undesirable. How bitter, how smooth, how earthy, how nutty. All those flavors, the water temperature, I cannot stress enough. So it's going to heat the water either for steam. A hit of a button will choose between steam and hot water. The hot water setting I could use to draw my shot of espresso, and I can also use to get hot water for making an Americano or making tea or for cleaning the machine, whatever. But when I hit the button down for steam, it's going to heat it much hotter, so that's going to be for steaming, frothing the milk. Now, if you watch a lot of coffee videos online like I do, you've seen a few different techniques and opinions. You've probably seen Gail over at Seattle Coffee Company. I love her videos. She's always showing us the new machines and how to use them. And I learned from her, she likes to steam the milk first. The reason she does this is because once you've steamed the milk, it's going to keep for a few minutes. Once you pull the shot of espresso, the flavor is perfect when it's freshly made, and within a couple of minutes, that flavor is going to start to break down. Now, most people won't notice, but if you really love your coffee, you're going to notice if a shot is not perfectly fresh. So, now I use a ceramic pitcher for frothing the milk just because that's what I happen to have. I've been meaning to get a stainless steel one. Everybody uses stainless steel. They all insist it has to be stainless steel. You can feel the side of the stainless steel that as soon as it gets too hot to touch, you've reached that, I don't know, what is it, 155 degrees or whatever that's optimal for the milk, where it's like, ooh, that's too hot. Well, that's how people tell. One of the ways. Also, it's easier to clean stainless steel. But I do it by sound and my sight, and I use my ceramic, and it works just fine. So I'm not gonna let anybody bully me into getting a stainless steel. Okay, so we're gonna put the steam into the milk, and we're gonna heat it up. And as it starts to heat up, I'm gonna pull it down so that the wand is just below the surface of the milk. And then it's gonna start to steam and bubble. And when it starts to boil, you've gone too far. You want to scald the milk but not cook it. And what you're going to have in here is a layer of foam on the top and some very hot milk beneath. And for cappuccino, you're using both of those. You only use 1 part espresso, 1 part steamed milk to 1 part foam. Now, your flat white is going to be more espresso and more foam. Your latte is going to be more hot milk. All of that is, a matter of preference. But foaming the milk is very important. So the machine's hot. It's set on steam. Now, typical of these semi-automatic machines, you turn it in one direction. It says espresso or has a picture of a little cup of coffee. And that's going to put hot water through here, through the group head, where your coffee grounds are. If you turn it to the hot water / steam side, it's going to come out your wand. Now, this is the professional wand, the simple, straight wand that's very popular. Some machines will have, like for example, a Panarello wand that's got a little plastic attachment on there that's got an air intake hole that will foam the milk for you, so you don't really have to pay much attention to what you're doing. You'll develop the skills to use this. It's not really that complicated. I'm going to turn this on to steam. It's going to take a minute. A little water's probably going to shoot out of it at first, so I'm going to wait for it to go. But you're going to hear the pump kick in. Again, I'm making the milk first, and then I'm going to pull my shot of coffee. But that's not the most common way. That's just what I learned from somebody whose videos I like on the internet, and she had good reasons for it. Okay, that's steam coming out. Let's give this a try. With this machine, like many of the less expensive machines, often it might pause a little at first, but now it's going again. So I'm pulling it down so that, like I said, you're right below the surface of the water with the steam nozzle. I mean the surface of the milk, rather. And I was very careful to make sure it's set on steam, not hot water, or you're just going to make watered down hot milk. As I foam this, it's coming up close to the top of the pitcher. If you overfill the pitcher, you're not going to be able to steam it properly. You're going to overflow, make a mess. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now I'm using 2% milk. A lot of experts will tell you have to use fat-free milk, that it foams the best. In fact, in Europe, they use almost exclusively the ultra-high temperature or UHT milk, or shelf-stable milk, as it's often called. The Parmalat milk and other brands that come in a cardboard box that you can keep in your pantry for months, and then once you open it, then you have to chill it. This is regular plain old American-style milk from the refrigerator. Either one works, but the milk should be cold when you're steaming it. Now, I'm going to wipe off this this steaming wand. It's very important that you keep that clean because that milk will dry on the hot wand and it'll be hard to clean off. In fact, you might want to run a little steam or hot water through it immediately before we go any further. So let's do that. Takes a minute. It's still heating. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to change the temperature of the water from steam to hot water. And let that take just a minute to purge the steam out of the system so I don't use the wrong temperature of water to pull my shot. Okay, so a shot of cappuccino, or a shot of espresso rather, is about 1 ounce. Now, I used the double basket. This is the single shot. I used the larger double shot. I used 2 scoops of coffee in there. So a shot of espresso is about 1 ounce, so I'm going to pull about 2 ounces of espresso. Now, you can, take a little cup and mark, or use a shot glass that's graduated or something to see, or you could just eyeball it. But I'm going to pull about 2 ounces of coffee out of here, and I'm going to shut it off. And that's about it. Now, on the surface, I'm spilling because I'm trying to show you here. On the surface, you'll see what they call a crema, that little layer of coffee foam on top. That's desirable. You want that. You've done really well if you got that crema. Now, with the steam-powered espresso makers like the ones Mr. Coffee sells for $50 or whatever, those you're not going to get a crema with. In fact, you're not going to get a shot of espresso with. You're going to get something else entirely. So, pour that in there. There's my double shot. Now I could just do a free pour, where I just start pouring, and at first the hot milk is going to come out and then the foam's going to come out on top. Or I may need to use a spoon to get the foam out. Now, the Italian word cappuccino comes from the color of the Capuchin monk's frock, which is optimally the color, once you stir this up and the coffee infuses the milk foam, it's going to be the color of that monk's frock, hence the name. Totally useless trivia that you're never going to need. I'm telling you because I felt like it. Okay, so maybe a little bit of sugar. Doesn't take much. We use little spoons. Maybe a little more. Oh man, that's really good. I did not let myself down. I wish I could share this with you. If you're out there, you want to come on over, I'll make you a cup of coffee. Oh man, that's good. Yeah, it's way better than what you're going to get at, well, should I say the Starbucks word? You know, that place where they sell coffee and they call it cappuccino, they call it espresso. By the way, something I got to get off my chest. Caffè macchiato is not a big cup of foam this big with a bunch of caramel and whipped cream and stuff on it. Macchiato means marked coffee. Caffè macchiato is a shot of espresso with a little tiny dab of foam on top. It's marked. It's a wonderful, delicious drink. It's not what you get in American coffee houses like Starbucks, where you say, give me a macchiato, and they go, oh, you want a macchiato? Okay, here you go, and they give you a cup full of foam and some weak coffee that just doesn't taste anything like what you were expecting. Sorry, but it's just not right. Once you've had a real cappuccino or caffè macchiato or an espresso, once you've been to Italy, especially southern Italy, like Naples, Napoli, and had it made properly, you're going to be ruined. You're going to walk into Starbucks and you're going to taste the coffee and you're going to turn around and walk out all dejected saying, oh, I wanted a cappuccino and instead they made me this garbage. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen to you, because it ruined me. That's why I have to make my own coffee. Wow, that's really good. I'm sorry, but I do like my own coffee, and when it comes out like that, I'm just downright giddy. Thanks for watching. Now, don't forget to clean your machine. Maybe even let a little hot water run through the group head. Just a little. Give it a good wipe so you don't have dried old coffee on here. Nobody needs that. Don't forget to turn it off. Some of these machines will turn themselves off after an hour or two, but if you leave this on all day, it'll run up your electric bill and also probably burn out your motor, so don't do that. I don't have a knock box, so I'm just going to dump this into the trash, but if you got a good coffee maker, it'll have a three-way solenoid that will extract the water out of the puck, out of the grinds, after you've the grounds rather, after you've made your coffee. So you'll get a little solid dry puck that you just tap the thing and it pops out. This machine doesn't do that. My next one probably will. Anyway, that's Cappuccino with Shawn. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for indulging me. I hope you enjoyed my video. Bye.